And we are live. Hello and good morning, my boos, my loves, my friends, and my family. I know my lives have been really weird this week. I've been coming at you during the work week instead of the weekend, but we are on my epic paranormal road trip that is going on right now. So, my lives are sporadic, they're all over the place. It's just depending on when I can get to places and where I'm going. Right now, I'm actually, I've been tearing up over this location because I'm a Civil War junkie. I actually wanted to go to school. I wanted to be a teacher for Civil War history. So this is a location I have always dreamed of going to. Right now, I'm actually right outside the visitor center of the Chancellorsville Civil War battlefield, you guys. So this is very emotional for me. There's so much history here. There's the rumors of the hauntings are quite interesting, and they vary depending on who you talk to, what you read, what you watch. I'm actually right now I'm walking a trail that is dedicated to the felling of Stonewall Jackson. So, if you know anything about the Civil War, General Lee had certain people that were like his main go to men. He had Jeb Stuart with the cavalry, he had Jackson, Stonewall Jackson. He also had, there's just so many. Pickett, you take your pick. There were certain men that were like his foundational men that were like his rocks when it came to his trusting of having how the battlefield was handled. Jackson is such a romanticized character. The history that follows him, he had quirks. He would ride. He was known for riding around at West Point with his arm up in the air. He had a love of lemons and loved the men that served under him. A lot of them were his own students. He actually taught at West Point. So, he taught the cannonades. He taught the battalions, with positioning and where to place their enforcements. This, how he was taken down, is something that I feel from what I've read severely, like it really hurt generally. Jackson was known as Stonewall because when he set his troops, he was a Stonewall. There was no getting around him. He was known for amazing evasive flanking maneuvers. He actually did one here at Chancellorsville. He actually did a flanking maneuver to repel the Union troops and was out at night on his horse, was coming through a picket line back into his own troops. And one of the men had a itchy trigger finger, so to speak. Shot Jackson. And, it was late at night. It was raining. He had his black slicker on, and the sentry didn't know what was going on. They couldn't really hear each other because of the fighting that was going on around them. He pulled his trigger, shot Jackson. Jackson ended up dying from his wounds a month later. His Fanny was brought to him. I believe they had 2 children. So, where am I at today, Nate? Yes, I am at Chancellorsville Civil War battlefield. I'm actually walking the loop outside of the visitor center, which is basically dedicated to where Jackson was shot and killed by his own men. Now, rumors have it Everybody knows I'm good for the hauntings. I have read numerous reports where people have actually seen a man, supposedly Jackson, still riding the lines on his horse. Supposedly, the sentry that shot Jackson has also been seen. Just like any typical Civil War battlefield, you still have your apparitions of the soldiers moving in and out of the trees. You still hear the cannonade going. You still hear the fire. You hear the drums. You see the soldiers manifesting and disappearing. I'm trying to find, they said there was a stone. There's been 2 different monuments erected. Oh, he was an uncle of yours. Oh, wow. Yeah, I actually debated on going to Arlington because I have to drive through. I'm on 95 on my way up to New York, which is why I stopped here. Because this is like a dream location of mine. I've wanted to come here for years since I was a child. So I actually teared up. When I saw the sign on the side of the road, the wounding of Jackson, I had to take a picture there and use that as my teaser. I do plan on driving through the battlefield, so I'm going to have my phone on and I'm going to try to stop at certain locations if I'm able to, time permitting. I'm trying to find, they said there's a rock. Am I on the wrong trail? There's a couple different trails over here, so if anything, what's this? There's like another like kind of trail. So we're gonna take a walk and see if this is it. But I'd like to see, there was an obelisk that was erected in Jackson's honor. And there was also a boulder with a plaque, from what they told me in the visitor center, that was placed where he was supposedly shot and fell off his horse. So even though I'm from the north, I have a great love and appreciation for both sides. I think that's one thing that we miss in the society is understanding both perspectives. And this takes me out to a road. This does not take me where I thought it was going to. So, oh wow, you've got an amazing lineage then, Nathan. That is awesome. Okay, so this takes me out to the battlefield, another battlefield road. See? So I'm trying to find this monument, guys. Because I was like, where's the monument? And they were like, it's out there. And I was like, where's out there? They're like, oh, on the trail. There's like 2 trails. I don't know which trail. And I was like, well, I'm making this a quick stop on my road trip where I highlight historical locations. Can you kind of pinpoint this for me? Because I got to get to New York. And I really don't want to be driving around anywhere crazy with traffic at stupid times. And I know people like it when I do wide view, but there's nothing really to wide view show unless you want trees. I can show you a lot of trees right now. Where is this damn rock? But there's also, within stone's throw, there's Spotsylvania. There's also the Fredericksburg battlefield. And if you know anything about those all of these were major losses for the Union. These all led up to Gettysburg. And I figured since I did Fort Fisher in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I'm right here, and this is a location I've been dying to go to since I was a kid, I'd be an idiot not to go to it. So, Nathan, out of curiosity, do you have anything of your grandfather of Lee's that's been passed down through the years of his personal belongings? I think this is really cool. So, for anybody that's watching on YouTube, I've got a friend that's on Facebook that's commenting, and he is in the lineage of General Lee. Where's this rock? I thought it was going to be right here. That's why I started my live. Sorry, guys. Evidently, the next time somebody says it's right there, I'm going to go right there first. But there's the visitor center. We're right behind it right now. And on this path, oh, found it. Is this it? Okay, there's nothing on it. But you can see where people have left change on top of it. Down the obelisk. Let me flip my camera. Well, I gotta be careful, there's other people out there. But I will flip my camera and start showing you guys stuff. So, okay, so that right there is the Jackson Monument. And it says, 2 unidentified men stand near the large unmarked boulder brought here sometime between 1876 and 1885 to mark the site of Jackson's wounding. The effort to erect a monument at the site of Thomas Stonewall Jackson's mortal wounding began in February 1887 when Fredericksburg newspaper editor Rufus Merchant founded the Stonewall Jackson Monument Association. All right, I'm going to keep my camera down because there are people over here. Yes. This represents normally when you have coins that are put down on like a headstone, it represents different types of service and how you're related or how you knew the person that is buried in that place. Yeah, so each, like a quarter, a penny, a nickel, a dime, they each have a different representation of the relationship with the soldier that is buried in that spot or that fell in that location. If you actually look at the granite rock over there, there's a couple of coins on top of that one too. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, well, thanks. Yeah, you are more than welcome. Okay, so it says here, could I have directed events, should have chosen for the good of the country, to have been disabled in your stead, congratulate you upon the victory, which is due to your skill and energy. R.E. Lee, General. Hey, Brandy, how are you? Then on this side, it says, there is Jackson standing like a stone wall. B at Manassas. Manassas is actually where Stonewall got his nickname. So, because when his troops were attacked, they would not budge. It didn't matter what was coming at them, how bad the shelling was. He stood his ground and his troops knew to hold tight as well. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a really fun collab that I did with Sam yesterday. And then it says here, on this spot fell mortally wounded Thomas J. Jackson, Lieutenant General, Confederate States Army, May 2nd of 1863. I'm doing really good. I'm actually at a dream location right now. So this is real exciting for me to be here. And then if you go over here, So what's a lot of people don't know is that when the Civil War was going on, the so this is about his death and the monument that was erected. It says of his soldiers, he was the idol of his country, he was the hope of war, he was the master. So I'm going to flip my camera real quick. All right, so I'm back. So what a lot of people don't know is with the Civil War, a lot of people are like, oh, they're all buried the way they should be, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. You have to understand, a lot of the men were gone. And we're talking like from like 8 years old up to senior citizens. If they could carry a rifle and they could shoot, they were gone. They were fighting the war. So it was up to the women, the children, to take care of the burials a lot of time. When a battle was declared won by either side, they would have burial parties that would go out onto the field to bury quickly, which basically meant that they made mass graves. If you've been to Gettysburg, there's an area that if you stand at a certain point, you'll see the ripples like in the ground, and you'll see the different colorations of the grass in that area, and those are mass graves that were dug. It's like that on every Civil War battle site. They were not able to individually bury. Sometimes they could. 9 times out of 10, though, if it was privates, they were not be able to be identified. The thick of the battle, they were trying to be quick. They all got dumped into a mass grave. So there's a lot of unknown soldiers that are buried throughout all of our Civil War sites, which is really sad. Certain people, yes, they were able to casket them, they were able to take them, and those are typically the people that died in the field hospital, died later from their wounds, were sent home due to their wounds to be nursed back to health by their wife or their children, a mother. So yes, there are a lot that are buried properly, but there's also more that are not buried properly either, which is really sad when you think about it. I mean, I couldn't, like when I was at Fort Fisher and I was showing the monument at Oakdale Cemetery, there's 367 soldiers that were unknown from the battle at Fort Fisher that lasted from January 12th to January 15th that are buried under that monument. I could, as a mom, I've got a 19 and an 18-year-old sons. I cannot fathom my children going off to war and being unidentified and being thrown into a mass grave and then not knowing. Because you got to think, back then, it was all, you're hoping your letters get to where they're supposed to be. You're hoping you get the information that you need. You're not getting all the information that you need. So imagine being a mom back then and not knowing what happened to my children. I'm actually going to I'm trying to think of how I can do this. So I tried to get a map of the battlefield. But from what I understand, I'm going to flip my camera now that I'm away from people so everybody can see the area that I'm in. They need to do this better in StreamYard. Okay. So you got to think, all of this was wooded, right? Let me put my keys back in my pocket. Now, and over here is where Jackson was coming back through the picket line. So with him coming back through the picket line, it's raining, it's dark, the battle is still raging. You still got the, people pot shotting at each other. You still have a few cannonades going off, you know, and he's dressed in his black slicker. You've got somebody on patrol that's got an itchy trigger finger and is scared. I mean, I couldn't even imagine, because they would have all the time, troops would slip between lines portraying themselves to be part of the CSA or the Union, and, causing issues. That's how they would have a lot of skirmishes. And so you got to think, all of this was wooded. Now imagine all of this being here, being wooded like it is here, and it raining, and you're trying to get through back to your troops that you just completed a successful flanking maneuver to stop the Union troops, and one of your own men has just shot you. To me, that's heartbreaking. I mean, it happens now, even in today, unfortunately. But if you ever come out here, the visitor center is right over there. They've got the history loop trail here, and the battlefield is drivable. There's all kinds of stuff for you guys to see here. Okay, so I do want to drive around a little bit on the battlefield and see if we can find some really cool monuments. So I'm not sure if you guys want to drive along with me, but I think I'm gonna bring you for a ride. I've never been here, so I don't know where I'm going on the battlefield. So it's gonna be an adventure for everybody. Just don't mind my car, since I'm practically living in it for the next week. All right, we're gonna do this how I did it at the graveyard. Having a great Friday. It is Friday, you guys. We made it to the end of the week. How exciting. Okay, I think I can get out that way. And there's a road that I'm going to be going up to that's got direct access to a certain part of the battlefield. So we're going to go take a look at that. Figured I'm going to bring you guys along for the ride. Because this is a battlefield that, in my opinion, I mean, is extremely, it's extremely important. Oh, okay, I can go down this way. Okay, so they've got all kinds of walking trails if you guys are here. Yeah, you watched 28 Days. Did you see the Madison Dry Goods on there, Nathan? Now, see, with Gettysburg, everybody knows Gettysburg. Everybody knows that was the bloodiest battle. It was 3 days. A lot of these other battlefields get overlooked that still hold an importance to the Civil War and what happened. And it looks like they've actually got cabins here that you can rent, and you can stay, you can camp here on the battlefield, which is really cool. I'm actually passing a few of the cabins. I don't think those might actually be private residences or where park rangers live, because I know at Gettysburg they have private residences for the rangers to live on site as well. Just a little weird tidbit of information for you guys. Okay. So they still have Confederate trenches that were made by Jackson's Corps, sorry. I say things how they're spelled. I'm going to flip the camera so you guys can see. Actually, yeah, Antietam was worse. And if you go to Antietam, there's the bridge that the Irish Brigade was basically annihilated on. And not a lot of people know about it. Okay. So my phone never disconnected. Sorry, you guys. I'm supposed to be able to walk away from my car and my phone disconnect, and it did not disconnect. Good catch, Nate. Okay, so what I was showing is how far these trenches still go. They've been able to preserve the trenches that Jackson's men created for this battlefield that it's basically one of Jackson's legacies when you think about it, that they've been able to preserve this. Even though I'm on a road that's only 25 miles an hour, I'm still going to buckle up. I've actually seen people get into accidents on battlefields because they're gawking and not paying attention. I'm looking to see what else there is. I'll be honest, I saved all this to do it firsthand with you guys. So can you hear me now, Nathan? I hope you can. Fingers crossed. And now my car locks. That's funny. See, I'm not even sure how long this road is. I'm really surprised that they don't have monuments up. Like at Gettysburg, like everywhere you look, there's a monument, it seems, to a regiment. You've got where the flanks were for each regiment. And I'm not seeing that here on this road right now here at Chancellorsville. I know that at Gettysburg, a lot of the monuments were paid for by the regiments. So, but they could have wanted to preserve this area of the battlefield too, a different way, since Jackson was mortally wounded right here. I know that in certain parks, if somebody important was wounded, they were really careful about how they preserved the area. I would flip my camera around, but the way my phone clip is now on my windshield, you guys would only see my phone clip. I actually tried it the other day just out of curiosity to see how it would look, and it didn't work. But it looks like they've got a lot of walking paths here and they've got different signs up so you can walk around and read about the battlefield. Yeah, I know a lot were taken down. These people are like flying over this hill over here. I don't feel like becoming roadkill. So I know a lot of like the monuments have been taken down. And I'm going to be honest, personally, I think it's bullshit. It's American history. It's a part of who we were. It's a legacy. Does it mean that what happened was right? No. But the people that fought and died here should still be remembered. They should not be forgotten. And when you start taking monuments down, in my personal opinion, that's when things start getting forgotten about. And that's when mistakes start getting made again. Like, I don't fully agree with it, to be honest. Like I said, please don't mind my mess, you guys. I'm trying to get over, there's another part of the battlefield, this over here, I'm trying to get to. I'm hoping that they still have the monuments up there. So they still have the Chancellor House site. So right out here is the Chancellor House, hence the name Chancellorsville. And you can see the foundation right there. And it looks like there's even a grave marker over there, and they still have cannonade up there as well. All right, let me flip this back around. I got to drive again. This is not going to be my prettiest video, guys, and I apologize. But this battlefield is so spread out. I don't want to have to keep going live. I would rather stay live and then just drive. And then if you guys have any questions, I can answer them. Let me close that. All right, so I've got Brian asking me an equipment question. Well, you got to think, Brian, the town, that's the family. And because the battle was here where the family lived, it became known as Chancellorsville. So it's not so much doing something epic. You got to understand the 17 and 1800s. If a family moved to an area and then it started growing up around where that family lived, it was named for the family that was there first. No, I can't turn here. That's the visitor center. It's the next road up. Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate it. See, battlefields can be so difficult, and I don't have kids with me, so I'm going to be going live with no kids. That was something that I know I had a few people really complain about me doing live and driving with my kids, so I don't do that with my kids in the car. Although my son is 19, he's a legal adult, and there's times where he will hold the phone for me if he's in the car with me. All right. So now we're back to another part of the battlefield. Okay, I'm going to pull so I can read this sign to you guys. Put this in park, flashers on. Okay, real quick, Brian has a question. Equipment question. Do you like those motion sensors that stand and do they compact? Yes, they do compact for traveling. I have them with me. I will be using them at Mid-O tomorrow when we during the investigation. They do break down for easy traveling. I think they work wonders. I've gotten intelligent responses on those. If you're interested in getting those, get a hold of Next of Kin Paranormal. They're a friend of mine on Facebook. I have them tagged on a lot of stuff, but look up Next of Kin. That's Joe and his son Dominic. That's their paranormal group, and they're the ones that make those. So let me flip the camera around. Actually, I have people getting ready to run by me with their baby. Hi. Okay. So it says the Chancellorsville campaign, May 3rd, 1863. Battle cries break the stillness of the dawn as 25,000 Confederate soldiers move up through the dark woods on both sides of Plank Road. Plank Road is the road right out there that I was just on, to attack the Union position guarding Fairview Heights, 800 yards to the east. Leading them in place of the wounded Stonewall Jackson was Lee's 30-year-old cavalry chief, Jeb Stuart. By 10:30 a.m., after a fierce struggle, Fairview had fallen and Hooker's men were pushed back. Hooker was Union general, past Chancellorsville to a defensive line from which they would retreat across the river on May 5th. Lee was then free to boldly strike out north towards Gettysburg. Okay, so I'm going to flip the camera back around. Put my phone back in place. Thank you guys for bearing with me as we do this very interesting tour of Chancellorsville Civil War battlefield. Now, and see, what's important with this, just like what I just read, is that this was a defensive position that the Union line held, and it was in the way of Gettysburg. Okay. So right here, this is kind of, let me put this window down now so you guys can see this. All right. Right here is a obelisk, and it says, in this vicinity, Brigadier General E.F. Paxson, Confederate States Army, age 35 years, of Rockbridge County, Virginia, was killed on the morning of May 3rd, 1863, while leading his command, the Stonewall Brigade, in the attack on Fairview. So, yeah, he did. So there's a lot of pull-offs. I'm really surprised. Like, you have to understand, like, you can read that monuments got taken down, but then you see that there's no monuments where there should be, and you're kind of like, what am I looking at right now? Like, there's no defensive position markers, there's no flanks, right flank, left flank, regiment such and such, company such and such, like you would see at Gettysburg. I'm not seeing that here on this road at all. So this is, I don't know if it's because the monuments were taken down. Like I said, I've never been to this battlefield before, but I'm not even seeing like cannonades anywhere either. You know what's funny is that your phone turned hooker into hooked. Whereas if I type in like certain words, like it really messes with mine. Okay, now we're getting, okay, here, I can pull over here. We're going to take a walk. And I'm turning my car. Learned my lesson. All right, let me flip my camera around, you guys. So I just mentioned, what's funny is I just mentioned I didn't see any, and here we've got a field, and you've got the caissons, and you've got the cannonades. So this is Hazel Grove, and it says here that on the morning of May 3rd, this large open plateau known as Hazel Grove was key to the Union position. Stonewall Jackson's flank attack the evening before had staggered the Union Army, but had not seriously damaged it. As the new day dawned, the Confederate Army found itself divided, with Hooker holding the high ground, right here, Hazel Grove, in between. Had Hooker strongly defended this plateau, he could have kept the Confederate Army separated and defeated it one piece at a time. But the Union leader had lost the will to fight. Before dawn, he ordered his troops to evacuate Hazel Grove and fall back towards Chancellorsville, forfeiting the most important position of the battlefield. Now, if you've ever read anything about this battlefield too, or anything about the generals that fought here, there are quite a few that were very strongly, let's just say, pissed over the fact of how this defensive position was literally walked away from. Now, I'm known for my haunting information, so here we go. I've seen pictures that people have posted online and videos where you can see soldiers coming out of this tree line here, and you can see them around as if they're getting ready to fire the cannons. So here's Chancellorsville, the Fairview House and Cemetery. This is all Hooker, and you've got Lee, and then this is where we are. They went that way. But like I said, there's reports of soldiers being seen moving through the tree line here. I've seen pictures of apparitions as if they're still taking out the fuses and the balls from these. Okay, so when I'm talking to the camera, I know everybody's like, landscape! And I'm like, I don't know where to look for my camera. I'm still learning. I think I'm doing pretty good, considering I've only been doing lives like this for like a little over a month. So, no, this is not Gettysburg. This is Chancellorsville, Civil War battlefield, where General Stonewall Jackson was mortally wounded. I actually started off over where he was felled, Chris. So I'm going to drive a little bit farther down to see what we can see, and we will go from there, guys. Gonna be honest, it's really weird seeing a battlefield with not much on it and not many people at it. Because, like, Gettysburg, I'm gonna put my phone back into clip. There we go. I really need to figure out a different way to do my phone so that way when I'm doing stuff like this, you guys can see the perspective that I'm looking at. Okay, so what we're on right now is Stewart Drive, and if you guys know your Confederates, you know that that is named for Jeb Stuart. Jeb Stuart was a favorite of Lee's. And Jeb was known, he had a hat with a big old feather plume in it. And he was known to showboat. He thought it was funny. He would actually purposefully take his cavalry and run laps around the Union and then go and brag about it to the newspapers. And he would sometimes even take them out with him so they could get a picture of him doing it. He was very childish, childlike, and cocky. Lee loved him like his own son and really struggled with the reports of how at times inappropriate Stuart was being with antagonizing the enemy and with showboating. He really did not want to, lack of a better term, punish one of his favorites. Now see, there's a marker, but it's just a flanker. Where are the monuments? This is so weird. Now, does anybody know if like Chancellorsville had all their stuff removed? Like, did they seriously like go and like there's another flank marker, but I don't see. No, I mean, I've been to smaller battlefields where there's nothing. You know, they've just got the placards where you can read, and they might have a few cannonades. But okay, so now I'm coming up on Fairview. But I also wonder if they didn't put a lot of monuments here because they wanted to keep it in its natural state, possibly. All right. Well, let's see what this sign says. I was really thinking I'd be driving down the road with my phone hanging out the window showing you guys monuments and stuff. Okay, so Fairview is formerly a Chancellor farmstead. In May 3rd, 1863, Fairview became a gory landscape. That morning, all the energy and violence of the Battle of Chancellorsville focused here on the fields and woods around a commonplace log house. Here, the contending armies decided the outcome of the battle. I will flip it around. So there is a loop trail, but I'm not sure what the trail's going to show. So this is what I just read. And as you can see, they've got a mowed down trail that you can walk. And it looks like they've got placards along the way that you can read, but I'm not seeing much out here. Oh, thank you, Nathan, for saying that I'm doing great. I greatly appreciate that. Anybody that's joining is like, why is she walking through a field? Just in case you're just now joining, I am at the Chancellorsville Civil War battlefield where Stonewall Jackson was felled. I actually started off showing the monument for that. And right now I'm walking the Fairview Loop, which is where some of the bloodiest battle fighting took place. There was supposed to have been a log house out here, which does not look to be anymore. And I'm sorry if I'm being quiet. I don't really know what to say. I'm kind of in shock and awe right now that I'm here. For one, this has been a bucket list for me to come to since I was a child. Okay, we've got something over here. So, like, I'm like just totally freaking out on the inside that I'm actually here, for one. Two, I think it's really cool that I'm able to share this with you guys. And three, I'm really shocked that there's not much here. So I'm guessing this would mark where the house stood, the log cabin stood. We've got more cannonade out here. Let's go. I'm wondering if this is the cemetery that's over here. Yeah, this is the cemetery, the Chancellor Cemetery. Okay, so it says the earliest known grave in the cemetery dates to 1812. By 1860, there are at least 6 chancellors interred here. Today, there are 25 headstones, all of them dating after the Civil War. The brick wall surrounding the cemetery replaced a white picket fence that stood here in 1863. Now, here's a little known fact. One of my absolute favorites out of the Civil War is Joshua Chamberlain. Joshua Chamberlain was actually in reserves, but did fight at Fredericksville, got halfway up the hill at Fredericksville, night fell, and him and his men actually covered themselves with the bodies of dead soldiers to protect themselves from the shots of the pickets that night. So over here's the cemetery. Where do you, okay, there's where you get in. It's weird, you're like walking through a cornfield and then like, oh, there's a cemetery. Are you even able to get in? Yeah, no, they've got it. You can't even get in. Okay, so I'm going to read what the headstone says. It says, here are interred George Chancellor, Esquire, from 1785 to 1836 of Chancellorsville, son of John and Elizabeth Edwards, Chancellor and grandson of John Chancellor, 1726 to 1815, and his wife, née Jane Monroe, aunt of President James Monroe. In 1814, he married Anne Lyon Pound, 1783 to 1860, only daughter of James Lyon, 1755 to 1836 of Falmouth, Virginia, and his wife, née Mary Longwell, 48 to 1794 of Cecil County, Maryland. Anne was the widow of Captain Richard Pound of Fairview, who is also interred here. As a wedding gift, her only half-brother William Lorman, Esquire, 1764 to 1841 of Baltimore, erected the mansion called Chancellorsville in 1815 to 1816. So there's the one headstone that's right next to the big one is actually, it says Virginia Artillery. This first headstone here says 7th Virginia Cavalry. The headstone on the side is a 2nd Lieutenant Charles Company, I can't read the last name, Company H. Yeah, you can't really read too much. But this is the Chancellor's Cemetery. So guys, with this being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this live. I'm going to try to get some of my still shots. I got to go back to the Jackson Monument and get stills there. That way I can throw them up on socials for everybody to see. I am now going to be on my, once I'm done with that, I'll be on my way to Pine Bush, New York, so I can go see Sarah and Rob do their presentation tonight at the Pine Bush UFO Museum. Tickets are still available. You can go to the pinebushmuseum.com, click on general lectures. The tickets are only $30 a piece. If you got nothing going on, come on down. Meet us. Go listen to Sarah and Rob. It's going to be a great time. And I heard something about food. They talked about it on a live. Don't quote me on that. But I thought I did hear somebody say we were going to commune and eat together. But I don't know if that's still happening. But still, regardless, you should still come and watch them talk. If you've never seen a live, these two are insanely amazing together. So smart, so much information, and they're freaking hilarious the way they play off each other. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. Everybody have a fabulous Friday. Know that I will be coming back at you with more information, more locations, more content. If there's anywhere you guys want to see me on this trip, let me know. Shoot me a DM. Put it in the comments on a video. Let me know where you want to see me, and I will do my best to get there to show you what you want to see. All right, love you guys. Peace. And don't forget to be like Bree.